Really got to try on that left-hand side. What happened?
Oh, but I've gone up and over and bloody head over biscuit. It wasn't enough stability there for myself, but no, I was busting for a bit to make this game. It didn't seem to work out.
Hello, cheers, and welcome to the Scrum of the Earth podcast, your go-to for all the best things about the frabjous world of rugby. As always, my name is David Lawrence. I'm an American rugby fan who follows the game wherever I can find it all over the globe. If you'd like to get in touch, I'm easy to find on all your socials, and you can always drop an email to thescrumoftheearth@gmail.com. Well, let's cut to the chase. This is our fourth anniversary. July 26th, 2021 marked the very first time my reedy voice was foisted upon the unsuspecting masses. My Danny Care, He's So Old jokes, my vitriolic diatribes about player safety in the Southern Hemisphere, and my outright fawning over Timothy Tavatavanawai, it's all come to this. I'm beyond pleased to welcome back to the show some of my favorite people, some of my favorite returning guests, in fact. Where should I start here? Well, you know what? It's been far too long. We've got Not That Kind of Doctor, Harley Worthy. Harley, it's so nice to see you. How is everything going, my friend?
Well, everything's well, thank you, David, and happy podiversary.
Thank you. We've also got someone who has given me more than my fair share of time, and after Western Province's performance in the first two rounds of the Currie Cup, I'm guessing he's not in a good mood, but he's going to give us some time anyway. It's Harry Jones. Harry, how the heck are you?
How's it, David? I'm actually in a very good mood. I just had a nice chat with John Dobson, Dobbo, the mastermind behind Stormers in Western Province. So I'm feeling pretty ebullient about the next steps.
Oh, nice. New team in the Currie Cup this year, the Cavaliers. How did that happen? Is there a promotion or something that I don't know about?
The Boland, which just means upland, which is just north of Cape Town, is really the catchment for amazing talent. But it's a smaller town, Wellington, so they just kind of feed into Cape Town. So this is kind of a way of spreading it out and adding instead of subtracting like Australia has been doing or Wales.
Interesting. I loved their opening match. But anyway, we're probably not going to talk too much Currie Cup. But of course, we've also got the one and only Patricia Vieira. Patricia, you and I tend to end up talking about movies, but I have found nothing I want to go see this summer. Am I missing it? Can you recommend anything?
Yeah, it's been a great summer. What are you talking about? Superman came out this summer, David. We've had Superman and Fantastic Four. Mission Impossible came out this summer. We've had, I'm literally just opening Letterboxd as we speak. What else has come out this summer? So many things.
Superman. You went to...
Superman's probably the main thing, to be fair.
And you went, and it was good?
It was so good. It was really good. Yeah, It was great.
Okay.
I'm not even a massive superhero movie person, but...
So, as Malcolm McDowell famously said in A Clockwork Orange, well. The reason, of course, we are gathered here today is to celebrate 4 years of rugby and 4 years of a podcast in America celebrating the same thing. Over these 4 years, I've talked to amazing people, including the people I've got here today, the great rugby historian, Dr. Tony Collins, Bernard Jackman, Dallin Stanford, Hall of Famer Jan Rutkowski, Philippa Tuddiett, incredible people. What I've learned is if you love rugby and love talking about it, there are other people out there who also feel the same way. We've got 4 segments in celebration of 4 years. The first segment is called How We Doing? It's just a check-in. I've been covering this for 4 years now. I've seen a lot of changes, lots of new laws, lots of trends and things going in different directions. In some ways, rugby's in a bad place right now. Patricia, how are we doing? Is rugby in a good place right now? The perm looks like it's shrinking. There's new bad news in MLR this week, but the URC seems like it's doing great. And meanwhile, the top 14 is like, how you say, fuck you, we are fine. I'm starting to suspect a delay on our connection. We've lost Patricia temporarily. Harry, I have a feeling that you have some strong opinions about the state of the world rugby right now.
Well, it's a large enough organism where it's difficult to, have one phrase in the State of the Union, I guess. First of all, I want to congratulate you on your 4 years. And it's really, I think, in rude health if looked from a larger context. There are more places in the world that are playing rugby. So the spread is working. There are also heartlands that we love dearly that are struggling. And so it's tempting to fixate too much on the places that have professional teams or a league stood up that are having, backward steps. But I think that would lose the overall plot here, which is there are countries like Chile or Uruguay or Brazil that are making massive strides, even places like Germany. There's interest, there's burgeoning interest in places like Sri Lanka, Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And then if you look at some of the actual true heartlands as well, there's growth in interest. So, it's never going to be 5 steps forward and 5 steps forward. It's always going to be 4 and 3, 2 and 3, 4 and 2. But I would say over the last 10 years, there's no doubt. And not because of what World Rugby is doing, sometimes despite. So that's also key. So I hesitate to say that, look, it works. No. Tinkering with the rules must stop. The sort of incredibility of the banning punishment phase, no one believes in it. It's ridiculous. There are things that they could stop messing around with, but the organic interest of more young people in this game, whether it's playing, especially with women, or watching, is undeniable.
I don't want to get into a side tangent, but MLR had some rough news this week with NOLA disappearing, consolidation of the California teams. But the optimists I'm talking to are saying, yeah, that's natural. That's just called growing pains. Major League Soccer went through a similar thing, and they're doing great right now. Are you on the optimistic side of that coin?
Well, I think it's even important. I think the danger of covering over or subsidizing things and kicking it down the road only to have an entire mature team like Wasp or something closed down, or Melbourne Rebels, it's worse. So I think in these early phases, it's super important to hold to standards, accounting practices. Don't just rely on some sugar daddy out there to save you, or subsidize. I think you really have to stand up or not.
One of these days, I got to get myself a sugar daddy. It sounds pretty good. Patricia, I see you're back. I was just wondering what's your take on the overall state of the game right now? Healthy, worrisome?
Oh, bad. I don't think that there's any sort of dressing it up. I don't know if there's anywhere the game is doing particularly well. England only have 4 teams left. Wales are going to have, Wales probably have less teams now than they did when we started. In Ireland, things look like they're going well, and then they're kind of not. I think it's in general just in a bit of a weird place. I think that there's a lot of sort of uncertainty, I think is probably the word, and I don't think that's very good for a sport that's been around this long. Should probably be a bit more certain about what's going on.
That's kind of a good point. Harley, what about you? You're a Wales supporter, so I can only imagine you're suffering these last couple of years.
Yeah, my one solace was teams that brought joy to my heart, like the Dallas Jackals.
Yeah. Oops.
Yeah. So someone had their team closed down. I've spent most of the last few months since WRU announced that they are still terrible at making decisions. That my team is safe, so I don't need to worry. Even though I'm still very worried because God knows what's happening to the rest of the game. But I actually do quite like the full Welsh side. But for me, I'm going to ignore the men's game because the men's game is 90% of the time quite boring unless it's Razzie finding yet another way to sneak scrums back into the game. And I want to say how much the women's game's growth, right, in some areas not grown as much as we'd like. Yes, the Red Roses' dominance is getting boring now, but it's nice seeing teams like Ireland, who have basically told we don't give a fuck about you by their union, come up and have some fantastic displays, including beating the Black Ferns. I know she can be divisive on podcasts I'm involved with, but Lona Mar just forcing away saying I am here. Whether you think she should be playing more rugby or whatever, I'm not going to get into that debate. But it's nice to see that game growing and seeing attendances growing, and with the way that the PWR are, very slowly bringing up salary caps, saying, all right, now you can spend a little bit more, and they're, similar to the MLR, they're trying to build this up gradually. So instead of saying, here you go, have all the money in the world, oh wait, where's that money coming from? It's slowly. So it's nice seeing things like that being quite organic. Japan seems to be growing and trying to find its feet as well. I said that as depressing as it was to see the Dallas Jackals go, it's nice seeing the MLR is, it's working out the kinks earlier on in the league, not waiting 20 years and then going, well, this doesn't work anymore. We're going to close you all down and remerge you. And, and what's this latest mad scheme out of the hat.
So this is totally off script, but you mentioned Rassi. Every time Rassi comes up with one of these things, half the world goes, "I can't believe it. This is disrespectful." And the other half of the world goes, "Oh, he's an evil genius." What nobody ever talks about is, why aren't more coaches trying to do this? He's like the only one who keeps experimenting, keeps trying to push the borders. Why is that? Like, I want all coaches to be trying to think outside the box like Rassi is. Why is there so much timidity?
I think Harry is the resident rugby fixer. Should take lead on that one.
So this is a relic, David, of the fact that rugby has aspirations to remain amateur forever and had that amateur ethos of the wealthy, private school educated athletes who uphold the blazer and don't ruffle feathers and then go on to good careers in business, but also maybe, inherit some sort of club president role. And so it's just all very much a back, finger, like sort of the secret handshake. And so Rassi comes from a small town. He was never in the establishment. He was always a hellraiser. He was never in the in crowd. He probably doesn't own a blazer still that's not from the actual team. He prefers not to even wear shoes. So he's always going to be one of those iconoclasts. But then he's gathered around him people like Felix Jones, Tony Brown. It's not just a Rassi thing. The ideas you're referring to, some of them have come from Paul Ruiz, under 19 A and B, two coaches that I spoke with, who are just, trying to find different ways to relaunch phase play in the middle of play, because, the problem is that just doing 15 phases is very difficult to keep the ball. But what if you could invent a set piece restarter in the middle of it? So that's the lifted in general play. So I just think there's people who want to stay a certain way, and there's people that are coming in as it's more professional. And Ronan O'Gara would be an example of somebody who's really trying to do different things. In the top 14, they can also do more experimentation, because it's everything. A relegation would cripple your town. Promotion would put a town on the map. So as it starts to matter more, and you get people that are not just because they were good players. Jacques Nienaber was never a top player, but he's a physio who thought about different ways to play defense. That's what will come as rugby finally becomes professional.
As a Patriots fan, I love Bill Belichick, and Rassi, the comparison is so obvious to me. These are two people who are always looking to push those little edges where the boundaries are. So it bothers me that more coaches aren't trying those things. I find it odd. Anyway, like I said, that was not even in the script. The guy fascinates me, and this was a great recent development. It was just classic. Anyway, our second segment today is called The Greatest Hits. Over the past 4 years, we've witnessed some magical moments. 2 upset champions in a row in the URC before this season. The Springboks took down a second consecutive World Cup by winning 3 games in a row by a single point, something I don't think got talked about nearly enough. Imagine if you had been able to wager on that ahead of time. The Black Ferns, they upset the Red Roses in front of a record home crowd. My Free Jacks just finished off their third straight title. Harley, your team has had the roughest time of it these past few years, but what are a couple of highlights for you that, it doesn't have to be Cardiff, it can be anything really?
I was going to say my absolute highlight is, speaking of three-peats, is Gloucester Hartbury women getting their three-peat, and, we talk about them needing to be dynasty teams and also balancing it with other teams going around and how that's developed. I alluded to it, but my absolute favourite moment has got to be Manny Lebock calling a scrum off the mark, and just the silence that came around with everyone was just going, hang on, can you do that? Is that legal? And I just loved it. Again, it was just a thing of, right, this is our advantage. How are we going to make the most of this advantage? And it's just one of those things. It's still like one of my highlights of the World Cup for me.
Patricia, I think we all probably know what your favorite moment was over the last few years. I still think it's so cool that you managed to get yourself to South Africa to witness Munster's historic win. What else has been standing out for you these last few years when you look back?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Harley had to pick something that didn't involve his team, because his team haven't really done anything for the last few years. My team did win a trophy.
Hang on, that's not fair.
That was
We've lost 18 games in a row and went into administration. That's brilliant.
That's a full agenda.
And I think Cardiff probably beat Munster 3 times in the last 4 years anyway, to be fair. But no, it was like, obviously being in Cape Town and watching Munster lift that trophy was, is never going to be sort of touched. But the World Cup was great. I was at the World Cup as well that year. So did a lot of that, and being at that World Cup final, being at that France, South Africa quarter final, and the sort of feeling like, every French person in there, it was like somebody had died on the pitch in front of them when they lost that game. Just the absolute sucking of the energy out of the room was insane. I think there's been so much good rugby the last few years. Obviously, Ireland beating the Black Ferns, which was a game I didn't see live because I had been in Italy watching Munster lose to Zebra, and got home. I got home really late the night before, and I was like, look, I always stay up to watch my team, but I just can't do it. I'll check it in the morning. And obviously, look, Ireland are playing the Black Ferns. It's not going to matter. I looked at my phone the next morning, and it literally took me about 5 minutes to be like, have I forgotten how to read, or are those numbers the right way around? It didn't really compute in my brain. So there has been, for all the sort of complaining we can do about rugby and things like that, there has been so many great moments, I think, over the last few years.
Harry, what about you? Probably pretty hard to beat the dominance of South Africa these past several years. 2 World Cups in a row. Anything else kind of leaping to your mind, though, when you look back?
Yeah, but I love the Global Fellowship, in Patricia's hometown, Limerick. What a great place to be to watch rugby. I was there for the Bulls game, and Jake White, the then coach, invited me to captain's run. And I said, is there some protocol? Do I have to, is there some email or some sort of approval process? And he said, no, just rock up. And so I rocked up in the rain. Uber guy drops me off outside. Gates are wide open, so I just walk in, and I just keep walking. And by the time I'm finished walking, I'm on the pitch, and then I run into Jake and the guys, and I go, "Well, that was easy." In a lot of other places, you would have had to go through some sort of, I don't know, check. But places like Shetland Islands, places like the Falklands, places like Malawi, Tanzania. It's like you've said, anywhere you go where people have a rugby club, it's like you're part of the same religion. So you already know the liturgies. You already know how to genuflect or whatever. And you can just kind of sink in. I picked one moment out of all that. Probably it was that World Cup final, and looking around and seeing how different the crowd was. The ones in green and gold, I mean. The All Blacks fans were the same All Blacks fans, taciturn, crabby, a bit sour. But the green and gold was just a rainbow. It was unbelievable to see the youth, the color, the sort of new backgrounds, widening doors. If you want to look at a legacy of Rassie Erasmus, it's really that.
Yeah.
It's that
it's the Khaleesi effect too, yeah.
Never interested in rugby are now fascinated by it.
I feel like Sia Khaleesi was a big part of that as well.
Right, someone had to pick him, and he didn't always pick him for the skill or the talent on the field. He recognized leader recognized leader, and I think that's important is particularly important in South Africa, that you would pick someone as the leader, the actual captain, not so much based on certain skill factors, but also just Sia Khaleesi has that ability to bring people together. But the proof's in the pudding. So every year that goes by, if you watch under 20s this year, you saw an unbelievable different version of the baby box. Yeah.
I think one of my favorite moments of the last 4 years was the owner of Racing 92 saying that they don't want Sia anymore because he's too fat. One of the strangest things I've ever read. Yeah, that's his problem. Okay. Our third segment is called Do I Feel a Draft in Here? This is a little mini game where we each draft 3 players and then decide who did the best job. Any current player is acceptable, just no retirees. Because I pretty much sprung this on you and didn't give you any time to prep, I'll give you my 3 players first so you can kind of just take a few moments to think about it, and then we'll do a little mini snake draft. My first pick, I already kind of gave it away, Timothy Tavatavanawai. I don't care if he wants to play 6. I don't care if he wants to play out on the wing. Wherever he wants to play, that's fine with me. We also, Harley already kind of teed this up. Alona Moore, I would take her, not because I think she's the best player in the world, but because this is rugby and we're going to need some money at some point. Cha-ching! Finally, he's been possibly my favorite player for as long as I can remember. He's won a record number of Diamond in the Ruck awards on my show. It's Artie Savia. I'm sorry to take him off the table, but I just wanted to give you a moment there to sort of think of your own lists. You guys ready to do a little snake draft? Let's see. I'm going to roll my dice to see who goes first. Oh, I see it's Harry. You can have literally any player in the world, and this isn't a practical game. You don't have to think about it like this is a real club, like, oh, geez, I should really start with a loose head or something like that. It's just for fun.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was actually trying to think of permutations, like I need someone to kick. And so I won't think about that. Let's see. When healthy, I would say Lavani Botia for where he can play all over the field. Peter Steph Toy, because whether it's the catch, the carry, or the spirit, he's got you. And then maybe a lucky guy like Will Jordan, because sometimes he's just always lucky.
Yeah, he is. He's Johnny on the spot. Who wants to go next? Patricia, do you have 3 players, or Harley, are you all set?
Yeah, I could probably go. I mean, I think the sort of obvious choice is Antoine Dupont, but personally, if I'm drafting for Munster, I don't really think we need him, to be honest. I mean, he could sit on the bench, I suppose, but it feels like a kind of a waste of a pick. So I'll let Harley have him. Even though he's been tainted by sort of playing for the team up the road, like Jordy Barrett is the best 12 in the world, and I think that I think he chose the wrong province, but I'd love to have seen him make the right choice. Will Skelton is, I think maybe that's topical because we've just seen sort of how important he was to Australia when he was there in that Lions series. But he's one of those players who, like, from the day he arrived at Saracens and they, whatever they did to him there, just sort of completely fixed him and made him into this absolute freak. And he's that one player who just every time you watch him, I saw him up close in La Rochelle this season and I was like, I don't like that at all. I wish he wasn't here. So I think that it would be nice to have that sort of on my team. And then, I mean, my third pick would be pretty much any South African prop. Which Munster tries so hard to sign South African props all the time. It would be Oxenche for me. He is. If you're making a World 15, he's my first name down on it. And again, a guy I'd love to see playing for my team as opposed to against them.
I had an irrational reaction to Leinster picking up Jordy Barrett. It really annoyed me. He was incredible for them, of course, but I don't think it's going to be a like for like when they swap out Jordy for Rico Ioane next year.
Oh no, it's the stupidest signing that World Rugby's ever seen. But I'm really excited to see how they wheel him out to apologise for being mean to Johnny Sexton that one time. But it'll be fun. But no, Jordy Barrett was incredible for them. It was really frustrating every single time they played because he just made them like 400% better. Yeah.
Harley, what about you? You got anyone else that's going to make me mad?
Patricia stole one of mine with the Ox. Ever since I first saw him playing for the Cheetahs back in the Pro 14 days, I just instantly loved the man. This is going to probably be quite an insight into my psyche, but for me, Evan Etzebeth, just because.
What a difference maker!
I love a bastard. I really love a bastard on the pitch, and he's perfect. And you watch him play, and he's just so good on that line of illegality. It's with it. Then I'm going to charge down Wales.
Didn't he charge down like 3 kicks in 2 games or something when they adjusted a rule, and he was like, "Oh, that's for me."
Yeah. It was when they changed the
right.
escort and having the blockers in for the thing, and I think he did 3 in a game. I think he just went. The other one for me is Georgia Evans. So Wales and Sarries play. So as much as I don't want to pick a Sarries player, but it's Georgia Evans, and again, I just love the way she just leaves it all on a person, just an absolute menace in carrying and breakdown. And then I can't not pick a prop, so I'm going to pick who I think is quite an unheralded South African prop in Wilco Lowe, because I think he's still technically playing. I don't think he's officially retired, but just whenever I've watched him play, and he just seems to be the difference in so many teams I've watched him in. And when everything else has gone to shit, he's just there and winning scrum penalties. So it doesn't matter if your line out's only 10%. because you're getting 100 lineouts from scrum penalties.
Harry, you've heard what we've got. We have these tiny mini mythical teams. Who's got the best team right now?
Well, clearly I think mine is, but if I had to take, I'd go with Harley's because I'd have both the scrum and the lineup. It's interesting. I do this kind of game with coaches on the pod, and I say I give you 5 of everything, and then you pick one. So I'll give you 5 scrum penalties, 5 charge downs, 5 line out stolen, 5 kicks regained, 5 line breaks. Just go through that. And most of them actually pick scrum penalties because it's a double whammy. You get to move the ball for free while your forwards get to rest. You convene a line out, which is their favorite starter play for the next play, and someone gets carded.
Yep.
So, yep.
And the ref starts to decide that this is the way it's going.
Yep. And then it's all downhill.
Patricia, what about you? Do you think Harry's team is best, or are you going to keep yours?
I mean, objectively, I have the 3 best players out of the players there. I do like the fact that I was thinking Munster specific, so I didn't sort of take Alex Callender, even though I absolutely just would. So sort of picking Georgia Evans, I was like, yeah, she's really fucking good. But I know I'm happy with my guys.
Harley, you sticking with your hand?
Yeah, I'm sticking with my words. I mean, Alcal was a very tough shout, but George Evans just has a sort of place in my heart that I can't chisel her out of.
I had this idea that I would send a present to Rugby Julia as a surprise, and I was thinking I'm going to make an Al calendar because you could easily go on one of those online places. But as I was sitting there searching for pictures of her, I all of a sudden got a really weird feeling that I was becoming a very strange man, and I was like, okay, I can't keep doing this. This is becoming something else.
As someone who spends an awful lot of time talking to Julia, she would love it 100%.
I simply telling her about it seemed to make her day, so I don't have to keep searching stuff. So, anyway, let's see. Where am I? Oh yeah. So our 4th and final segment is called "Oh no, not a quiz," because that's probably what you're all thinking right now. Fear not, it's not an actual fact-based quiz where you're expected to know stuff. It's a quiz where you probably couldn't possibly know the answers. So it's really about whose wild guess is closest. If you're a collector of bragging rights, however, you can still count it if you want. So the quiz takes the form of 3 fairly normal questions and 3 not so normal questions. As an example, I recently did a Lions Wallabies quiz with John and Craig from the Scottish Rugby podcast, and one of their questions was, if you had a pack of 8 average-sized male lions, how many wallabies would you need to equal the pack, the weight of that pack? In case anyone's wondering, the answer was 960, by the way. So, but I think that'll set the stage for the types of things. Going in alphabetical name order, Harley, our first question is a question about Wales. When you look at Wales' overall record throughout history, they've played a total of 804 tests. Some teams, like my USA, have lost every game they've played against Wales. Which nation has Wales defeated more than any other? Against which nation do they hold the most wins?
I mean, we've got two sides of that. Is, we pick in a nation like America, who we haven't necessarily played that many times, but we've won every game, or we're going for someone like England, who we've just played so many sodding times, and I think our record's about 50-50. I'm probably with the England route, personally.
We're going with sheer number of wins, not percentage. So, yeah. So you're going with England?
Yeah.
Harry, what about you? Who's Wales got the most wins against?
I'd be between Scotland and Italy, but I suppose I'd go with Scotland just for the number of years.
Patricia?
I was going to say Scotland as well. That was my guess. I think that the similar to the England thing, but I feel like there was a load of years where England beat Wales, whereas I feel like it's closer with Scotland. So I would say Scotland as well.
It is, in fact, Scotland. Wales have played them 131 times, drawing 3, losing 53, and winning 75 times. That's 5 more than against Ireland, the second most. Question 2 is very similar, but sort of substituting Ireland for Wales. Patricia, what team has Ireland beaten more than any other?
I don't know. Definitely not England. Definitely not Wales, as you said, because Ireland was the next one for Wales. It's probably Scotland as well, actually, because I feel like, not to just rag on Scotland all the time, I feel like Ireland are always beating Scotland. It's either Scotland or Italy. Go on, I'll say Scotland for this one as well. It'd be funny if it was Scotland for every country.
Harry, what do you think? Patricia, right?
It's got to be Scotland.
Harley?
I'm just thinking this just your way of dealing with your emotions as a Scotland fan, and you're just ragging on your own team now.
It is a certain amount of curse breaking I'm trying to do here. Yeah, sure. Yes, the answer again is Scotland. I think it's 72 wins instead of 75, but very, very close. Question 3 is actually about world rankings. Harry, I was planning to do the exact same thing for South Africa, and then I was like, well, it's just so obvious because you play New Zealand and Australia so often. It just, I don't know, it felt different. So I switched it up. Question 3 is about world rankings. Harley kind of has a cheat code for this one because we were discussing this off air recently, but things have actually changed since then. As we have our talk right now, there are 3 nations in the top 20 whose men and women are ranked the same. Can you name those nations, Harley?
Oh, that is a thing. Yeah, we did talk about it, didn't we? And a couple of them have gone up. I'm going to go USA, France, and Wales. Women are too good, so it's not going to be them. So I'm going to go. I know France. Where already said that.
You said France. Yep. You said France,
Yeah,
USA.
So France. I'm going to go France. I'm going to go France, Australia. I've forgotten the other name I was going to say now.
You said America or the USA.
Yeah, USA. Yeah. No,
Okay.
USA. Yeah. Go USA.
Patricia, what about you?
I'm gonna say New Zealand because I'm just thinking if England and South Africa are the respective top ones, then I think New Zealand might be next. I don't think Ireland, even though Ireland men have fallen down quite a bit this year. I think America's a good shout. And actually, no, I was going to say Wales, and then I was like, because obviously the women didn't win a game in the Six Nations either, but then, they have won a game in the last 12 years. So that's a tricky one. I'll say France as well. So France, New Zealand, and the USA.
Harry.
I
really appreciate those 2 optimistic assessments of the U.S. men, by the way.
I feel like it has to be Scotland because of your theme. So I'll go with Scotland first. I'm actually pretty sure it's Australia. And then I don't know. So if I had to wild guess beyond that, New Zealand?
It's a good guess. So the answers are number 4, France. And after recent fixtures, Scotland are both ranked 8th. And yes, after a win in the final test, Australia's men and women are now both ranked 6th. Quite a lot of movement.
I massively overestimated Australia's men. I did not think that they would be in 6th place.
I was a little surprised. They would moved up, I think, 7 places just from that one match, which I was a little surprised. But
I thought Ireland were in about 6th place, but what do I know?
I think you're still 4th. So question number 4 is a bit more abstract. Eden Park is often home to the All Blacks there in Auckland. We all know the famous trio of brothers, Bowden, Geordie, and Scott Barrett, Scott being the tallest of the 3. If you were to stack Scott Barretts on top of each other vertically, how many Scott Barretts would you need to have their head touch the highest part of the roof of Eden Park? Patricia, we're going to start with you. What is your insane, wild guess? How many Scott Barretts?
I really don't like questions like this because I feel like they really expose me as a bit of a moron. Because one time I was on a podcast and they asked me a question like this, and I said a really, really bad answer, like 4 or something, and it just wasn't good at all. So Scott Barrett is like what, 6 foot and a half.
He's 6'6".
Yeah, and Eden Park is I don't know, 12. I'm gonna say 12, and I don't like the question.
Harry, how many Scott Barretts are you stacking on top of each other?
And so what you're saying is the height of Eden Park's stands?
The height of the roof at its highest point.
Oh, that's the part I got to figure out. I'm going to go 16.
Harley, going higher or lower?
I'm going to go slightly higher. I don't know why. I've got a feeling. I'm trying to think about how tall Eden Park is. And weirdly, I've got the number 50 meters. I've got 50 meters stuck in my head, which would be about 25 Scott Barretts.
Wow, very close. It would take 22 Scott Barretts to reach the 44-meter high highest point of the stadium. There is also like a viewing area. You can pay to get a tour and go up on this walk around the top, but that's only 34 meters off the pitch, not 44.
Cool question.
So question 5 is about another large player, Winnie Antonio, one of my favorites. How many Webb Ellis Cups would it take to match the weight of the French prop? Harley, we're going to start with you. And Patricia, I apologize in advance because I can tell you already hate this question too.
I'm trying to think how much like would that weigh? It wouldn't be more than a couple of kilos.
Every time they etch a name on it, it's technically less weight, right? I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I'm going to go 60 William Webb Ellis Cups.
60? Did you say 60?
Yeah, 60.
Harry, what about you?
30.
Okay. Patricia?
Yeah, I don't like these questions.
Pick a number in between the two, you'll probably get it.
Yeah, I'm a bit scared of Winnie Antonio because we did go to his bar when we were in La Rochelle and stole a whole rake of pint glasses, which is the thing that I like to do. So I worry that he's looking for me sometimes.
If I see him, I promise I won't tell him.
Thank you. I'm going to say 34 World Cups equals one Winnie Antonio.
The Webb Ellis Cup weighs just about 10 pounds, which means it would take 32 of them to even out those scales. Really close. Wow.
I massively underestimated the weight of the trophy.
Well,
I think it must be thinking of the ashes.
Yeah. I wonder if they weighed it with beer in it or without. Final question. When you look at the world rankings, on the men's side, the list goes all the way to 113, a position currently occupied by American Samoa. Of the following 3 teams ranked 100 or worse, please put them in order. The teams are Norway, Cameroon, and Nepal. Patricia, what order are these, descending order from best to worst, are these teams for you? Norway, Cameroon, Nepal.
I feel like they would be in the order that you just named them in, but then that would be too easy. I feel like you wouldn't have said them in that order. I'm going to say Norway are the best ranked, and then I'm going to say, well, I guess that means I'm saying Nepal and then Cameroon. Okay. But I don't feel great about that either, to be honest.
Harry, what do you think?
I don't like this at all.
No, I'm like Patricia. I think it's the order in which you listed them. So I think it's Norway, Cameroon, Nepal.
Patricia said Norway, Nepal, Cameroon, right?
Well, I know, but I think her gut was that it was the same order.
As I did. Okay. And Harley, what about you?
I reckon it's going to be a trick question. It's going to be that sort of that mid thing where everyone's on 30 ranking points because they've been inactive for so long, and it's actually going to be in alphabetical order.
The answer is Scotland. No, just kidding.
You'd hope Scotland's higher ranked than those 3.
Patricia nailed it right on the head, actually. Norway is currently 100th, Nepal are 102nd, and Cameroon is 105th. Harley, it's so funny that you said that because I almost listed Laos instead of Cameroon because Nepal and Laos are actually tied. There is no 103rd ranked team right now. There's only 2 102nd ranked teams. But I wanted to make sure that you didn't all outright hate me when this whole thing ended.
I'm really impressed by Nepal, but now that I think about it, the altitude must be a real bitch.
I think the only one knows if we send the Bulls to play them.
They're the Denver Broncos of Asian rugby.
I just want to see Mornay Stain kick a penalty at Nepal altitude.
from his own goal line.
Behind his own goal line.
I've long theorized that if you can just get it through the posts, like on a restart or on a kickoff, that should be 3 points, and you just keep trying it until you get it wrong.
I think there's a rule that you're not. I think it's in the laws. You can't go for goal off a kickoff.
I know. Imagine what the Spurs
don't know
would
the
look
laws
like.
anyway. It doesn't matter.
That's true. My friends, this has been so much fun for me. Thank you for carving out the time to engage in some serious rugby-based silliness. Harley, final thoughts before I let you go.
Oh, that was more of a surprise than any of the other things you put on. Just I know you're not this. It's the end of the show as you sort of know it. It's now going to be more interview based, and If people enjoy listening to Dave as much as I have, check out the Mall Street Journal, part of the Rap family, or the Global Game Line Network now, although they
for
run
anyone who
off the
doesn't
same
know,
email account.
the Scrum of the Earth is going to continue, but we're only going to be doing interviews. I've discovered that the shows that people want to listen to are when it's not just my voice, and those are the most enjoyable episodes for me as well. So we're going to keep that part of it alive, and then all that energy that I was putting towards the weekly show is now going into the Mall Street Journal, where we concentrate on American rugby, and that's already been going great. So just for anyone who didn't know, thanks for the little shout out there.
No problem, Dave. And then one thing I just want to say is, now that the silly nonsense of the Lions tour is out the way, the real meat of this year's rugby calendar can get ahead with the World Cup in England for the women's.
Yes, indeed.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm gutted because one game I wanted to go to, I have to go on holiday. And I've been told under no circumstances by my heavily pregnant wife, you're going on holiday because I cannot risk you going into labour.
I do not recommend going against that. Patricia, what about you? Final thoughts? I think I got you in time for Love Island. I think you're going to make that final boat.
Yeah, my first thought is I'll make the final of Love Island tonight. But no, the World Cup obviously is the big thing. And I will start the propaganda here that Canada are going to win that World Cup. I've been roped into coming out of podcast retirement, I think, to do something for that tournament. So that'll be there if people want to listen to it. Where I will say every single week that I think Canada are going to win the World Cup, just because I don't really want England to win it. On the men's front, I suppose the season has finally finished for a total of, I think, 4 days before it starts again. And I don't know if it's a Stockholm syndrome thing. I really do miss Munster. And I can't wait to watch them play again. And the next time they play the Sharks, I hope that Jaden Hendricks has a terrible time. And that's probably what I'm going to say today.
Harry, what about you? Final thoughts before we let you go?
Yeah, it's a great pleasure to be on with Harley, Patricia, and you, David. I think you do a really good job. I want to commend you for your attention to quality, your writing, the way that you focus on rugby around the world and not just become a fanboy for one particular team. And may there be many more years.
Well, I'm hoping so. It's so much fun. The list of people that have taken the time to come on and chat, like the list keeps growing, and every time I look at it, I'm amazed. I feel very privileged, and I really appreciate your time today. I can't believe we did this in 42 minutes too. That's got to be a record for us. I feel like I must have skipped 4 sections.
You can ask more quiz questions if you want.
No, Patricia, I want you to come back on the show at some point, so I will not subject you to that. It's been, in fact, Patricia was also part of my worst ever quiz. Patricia and Johnny McGinty were on, and almost all the answers I provided them were outright wrong. Like I had been using the URC's website.
We just kept saying, I don't think that's right, David.
I don't think that's right. And I was like, oh yeah, it's not. I was like, oh, there were 3 total red cards in the URC this year. And you're both like, pretty sure there were 3 in a game.
No, I think that particular season, Cardiff had 3 on the row.
I was gonna say, like, I think that year Munster had like 4 red cards on their own, and you were like, yeah, 3 this season. I was like, I wish.
That's kind of why I've moved away from fact-based quizzes to more wild speculation-based quizzes, and also involving calculations that you couldn't possibly make or check in the moment while I'm telling you them. 960 wallabies for a pack of lions. Who's going to say no? Anyway. It's been an amazing 4 years. I can't wait to see how the next 4 go. To everyone out there watching or listening, thank you so much for doing so. If you could help spread the word, that would be absolutely lovely. Thanks again to my incredible guests. Check out all our socials to see what's coming up next. And for now, cheers. Talk to you soon. And be well.
It gives me great pleasure to be here today.
Oh, it does, Nate.